Hello, here we go. I'm going to be finishing up the Princess Leia commission that I've been slowly chipping away at, and I'll hopefully get her completely done today. So I finally figured out what the situation was with my iPad, because I have it to the right of me over there, so I can see your comments. Yesterday I was having a hard time seeing the comments. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Technical difficulties, but today it should be better. And I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted, but my husband Dan helped me figure out a way to hook on my clamp so that it's not in my face. Before, if I was trying to see properly, you couldn't see properly, but now it's now it's not completely in my way. So what I'm going to start with first is I'm going to work on the background and the symbol, and then I'll finish her. I like having some ambient colors in, and then I know what to put on the rest of the character. Basically like side lights, ambient lighting, all of that stuff. So in order for me to do that, it's easiest for me to have the background done. So I wanted to get the face done yesterday so that everybody could see how I color skin. And if you want to look at that one, you can find it a little bit lower down on my Facebook feed. But also, I'm going to start posting them on YouTube as well, so you can find them there without having to scroll and scroll and scroll in Facebook. Yay! And I made a post-it so that everybody knows what I'm using. I don't know if it's going to fit all the time, but this is what I'm working with. The paper that I use I get from my printer, but it's similar to Strathmore Bristol board. And then I inked this with Faber-Castell Eco Pigment pens, which are my new fave at the moment. So I'll put that to the side, and hopefully people can see it sometimes. There we go. All right, now what I would like to do is start lightening the lines of the Republic symbol in the back. So, not the Republic, the Resistance. I'm an idiot. Is the quality fuzzy? Bummer. I guess it'll fix. Maybe this connection's a little slow, and if that's the case, I'm sorry. I can try moving it closer. It's fuzzy. Should I restart? Oh, looks like it's clearing up a little bit. Okay, so I'm using a kneaded eraser. This is the one that I like to use. It's the Faber-Castell kneaded eraser, and I make it look like a little sausage, and I roll it. And so that way it doesn't pick up all of the line work, it just lightens it. Yeah, I guess my connection is, I didn't really do anything, so it's just the connection is sometimes it wigs out on me, and I'm sorry about that, guys. All right, it's not lightening, so I'm going to just use it like an eraser. The nice thing about this particular kneaded eraser is it doesn't seem to leave any kind of residue. Some other kneaded erasers that I've gotten, yeah, my kids. All my kids are home. I have 3 of them, and we cooked lunch, played some games, and now they're having some free time, which means they're probably all on their computers using the internet as well. Sorry, everybody. Winter break will be done on Monday, and then I'll be back to normal work. All right, so I'm just using this to lighten the lines. This is my favorite kneaded eraser. I've bought a fair few over the years, and I actually didn't really like many of them that I bought, but this particular one has changed my life. Okay. So you're just going to see me filling in a lot of red, but I don't want to make the edges super clean, which is why I'm lightening it a bunch. A lot of the different resistance symbols that I've seen from Star Wars have a really nice textured look to them. And so that's what I'm going to try here. And then what I do is I just knead it back to a square shape and stick it back in the box. And I always try to put it back in the box right away because otherwise it tends to pick up little bits of junk off my desk or in my pencil case, so I keep it closed. And look, that's $1.95 Canadian dollars, so it's even cheaper in the US. It's definitely worth it. Okay, so I want to go red with this. So I have a few of my favorite reds that I will be using. These are my reds of choice. So I have R46, which is strong red, and it's kind of like a fire engine red, basically. It's perfect. R24 is called prawn, and that one I use if I want the red to be more orange in hue. I'll put this down first. And then these are some of the darker reds that I use, the R89, 39, 59. And yes, my markers are a disaster. I really need to clean them one of these days. Okay, but for this particular red, I don't want it to be on the yellow hue, so I'm probably not going to use very much in the way of the prawn color R24, and I'm just going to start out straight up with R46. Now I know that I'm going to be using a lot of red for this one, so I'm going to have my refill right next to me, which I will get right now. I have so many of them and I just don't want to use one that hasn't been opened. Okay, so here's my refill. I'll probably be stopping every so often to refill, and I'll show you guys how I do that. Okay. So again, this is my dab pad because of when I overfill markers. I have that there. Ooh, I hope this red idea works. Okay. Up at the top, I want it to be pretty clear what this symbol is. I don't want to go full on grunge and, you know, it's not clear what exactly I was going for here or what I was trying to depict. So I am going to keep the lines at the top and the points on either side. I'm going to keep them pretty clean. But again, I'm not trying to be perfect here, so I'm just going to be filling with red. And there's going to be a lot of just a lot of red filling, which might get a little boring, but at least you can see the process, and you can always turn me off if I'm prattling too much. For now, I'm going to actually leave a portion around Leia white. I may go in and fill that in, but I'm not really sure if I want to or not. So for now, I'm going to leave it white, and the reason why I'm doing that is so that there's a little bit of an outline around her that can help her pop from the red. I don't want the red to overpower Leia in the center. Oh, sorry, Phil. You have to go shovel snow. Dan's had to do that a ton here too. We got a lot of snow. All right, so I just did the outlines, and I will go in and fill and add darker spots into it. I was even wondering, you know how you see on those makeup videos, for any of you out there that watch them, which I do, I love watching sped up makeup videos. Some of the mermaid ones, they like put fishnet down and then do makeup in between the fishnet, and it makes a really nice textured, almost scaly look. I don't know, I don't think fishnet would really work for this, but some kind of texture. At some point I want to get myself some like really thick textured burlap or something and use that to like dab texture onto pieces, but I don't have any burlap right now, so I'm just gonna have to wait on that one and do that some other time. Now garnet, this is R39. Sorry, I don't have a ton of space to show you here, but yeah, R39 is going to add a bit more shade into this, and I'm going to just kind of blotch everything around. So I'm not trying to keep this particularly smooth. I actually want it to not look smooth and clear. I'm going to intentionally make it blotchy. And then in some places I may actually straight up paint outside the lines once we get closer to the bottom. I want it to almost look like it's sort of breaking off at the bottom down here. Not to kind of have any symbolism, but just for coolness factor, hopefully. All right, for any of you that find that squeaky noise annoying, you're going to be getting a lot of it this time. All right, so while this red part is still pretty wet, Copic, I believe the base liquid in Copic is like alcohol, or like rubbing alcohol or something. So it dries really, really fast. And that's the one thing that makes it kind of tricky with Copic marker, is to get everything blended before it fully dries. All right, so I added in a little bit of a darker color and I'm just mixing it in. And this is just gonna be experimental and playtime because I've never done this before, or this effect that I'm trying to go for, so we'll have to see how it goes. Regards again from Mr. Crayola. All right, so I'm thinking up in the tip right here, I want to accentuate that spot a little bit more, so I'm going to add in some darkness right there. And down here as well. And then maybe in the end I'll show you guys how to flick and make splatter with a Copic marker. I think my red is starting to need a refill, so I'll show you guys how I refill them. I usually try to, at least if I can push the marker to fill in the one area that I'm working in, I'll try to make it work and make it fill that particular area so that I can stop and do the refill without worrying about the part I'm working on drying too fast, and then I'm dealing with halo lines and weird marks. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm kind of pushing my red as far as it can go until I can take the time to stop and refill. You got to practice more with Copic, says William. Yes, I haven't seen your work, so I'm not agreeing with you by saying you've got to. But everything about art is practice, practice, practice. I need so much more practice in so many things. I am very fortunate that comic art is my day job, so I get to, learn on the job. But still, it's I have so many areas of my own work that I want to work on. I'm still discovering things about Copic marker that I can try and do better in. I think that's kind of the story of being an artist. Your Copic is slacking bad. I'm sure it's just fine. It's all about practice. And have fun with it. That's my problem. I need to learn to just kind of roll with the punches of something working or not working. Okay, I'm going to show you guys something for fun. This is the bleed through on the back. So if you're working on Copic marker and you're working with, say you're working in a coloring book, put something in between the two or you're going to bleed straight through onto your next page. Okay, so it's refill time now. The first thing you need to do is move your paper away completely from where you're refilling, or you could refill and have drips all over the place and ruin what you were working on. Okay, I have a trusty little baby plate. This used to belong to one of my kids when they were little, and I've marked it as it is my Copic marker drip tray because otherwise you can get stuff all over the place. All right, second thing, make sure that you're refilling the right marker because I've refilled the wrong marker before and it's a real big bummer. So R46, R46. Test has been done. Yes, they're the exact same thing. All right, let's make sure this is in the screen. Okay, so I take the lid off of this side just so that it's not dripping directly into the lid. And then this is the chisel tip. You remove this from the chisel tip, unscrew the Copic marker refill, and I make sure you push it all the way in. See, it actually fits inside, and then you push it and it makes a little click so that it's connected. And then I do about 3 to 5 squeezes. So 1, 2, 3, let's do 4 and get brave. All right, so there you go. And then what I do, because usually I've pushed the marker beyond its point and it's very, very dry, I add a couple drips onto the chisel tip and a couple drips onto that side. Close this up. And I have the weakest hands on the planet, so. All right, and I've got this here as my dab pad, and we should be good to go. So then this moves away. All right, and then that's why I always have Copic marker on my hands. Is there a site to get refills at a fair cost? You know what? I actually haven't found that. What I usually do is when I go to a convention, Copic marker, any conventions that Copic marker has a booth at, I stock up when they're there because they usually do really good deals. When they're at a convention, they have deals, and so that's when I buy all my markers. Okay, time to get back to work. Right now I'm just doing the outline to make sure that part at least is clean because I do want this particular section to be quite clean, just at the top, and then we'll start playing with texture and all that stuff down at the bottom of the symbol. Also, William Russell, if you look on blickart.com, they sometimes have coupons, so you can kind of stack the coupon on any Copic purchasing that you're doing. I just, at least last time I tried, Blickart doesn't ship to Canada with Copic supplies. Maybe that's changed recently, but since I realized that was the case, I started buying my Copic markers at conventions. But I do go to conventions, so you know that may not be as easy for everyone to do. But yeah, you can always try blickart.com and then just stack a coupon with it and you'll be good to go. Oh, thank you, Brad. Here come the squeaks. You know what? I haven't tried chameleon markers. They sound really cool. I just haven't tried them yet. You plan on doing the convention circuit? That's awesome. Yeah, then definitely check out where Copic is going to be and go do your buying there. Yes, I've definitely messed up on pieces with Copic marker, and I've had to start over. Or a lot of times comic book blanks that you get given at conventions, sometimes the paper just doesn't work with Copic marker and it's a mess. So sometimes I've just, like, the paper wouldn't take, and it was just kind of, the Copic marker was kind of sitting on top of the paper like a mushy jello kind of thing, and it wouldn't absorb, and oh my god, it's so frustrating. Now I'm starting to learn a little bit better what paper can take Copic marker and what paper can't, so I give blanks an aggressive look over before I will take them. But sometimes I screw up still, and the blank just is not trying to be helpful or nice at all. And a couple times what I've done is I've, done my best on the blank, and it wasn't working. So I told the person, look, I'll just redo it on plain paper, like some of my paper, and you can just have a better version, because I'm personally so offended that it looks so bad. But yeah, I'm pretty cautious about taking blanks, and what I do personally at conventions is I offer this size of paper. So this is an 8.5 by 11, and I offer an upgrade to this paper for free. So a blank is much smaller, like the drawing space on a blank, especially if it has a big title. Sometimes the drawing space is like a third of an 8.5 by 11, but I give a free upgrade just so that I can know that I'm working on the right paper. Oh, I have gloves on. So these are fingerless running gloves, actually, that I got from Lululemon. And they're just sleeves. They're like fingerless running sleeves. And I use them so that my hand isn't resting on there. And my shirt that I have actually has thumb holes, but it's pink, and I don't want to get marker all over it, so I use the black. It's stain proof. Have you tried the new blanks of Lady Death? Oh, Sebastian, the Lady Death blanks are the best thing on the planet. They're so amazing. Brian has done an incredible job at sourcing the right paper. I will always take a Lady Death blank, and I won't be afraid, because they're so good. So, I put the time into inking it. I can do everything and know that when it comes time to color, it's not going to be a traumatic experience. All right, I'm just taking a look at a couple comments. Oh, you haven't seen those blanks yet? Oh yeah, all the Lady Death blanks, they're good. They're good. Okay, so I'm still working on adding in just random bits of color so that it doesn't look too smooth and just flat red, which I really don't want to do. And now that I'm nearing the bottom is where I want to start adding in some texture and some breaks in the piece. So I'm going to leave that right there for now and work on the connection over here by her shoulder. And I'm leaving a small white halo around her, because I'm hoping that this will help the red not completely envelop and take over Leia herself, since she is the main character in this particular commission. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, afterthought, Leia, check out this rebellion, this big red rebellion symbol, boom. She is actually the commission. So again, I'm not trying to keep this very smooth. I'm not trying to blend it as cautiously as I do with, say, skin, which blending there, I don't like blotchy skin on a character that I'm working on, unless they're supposed to have blotchy skin, or they're supposed to look dirty, or, you know, have gun residue or blood or whatever on their face. But in this case, I'm trying to keep Leia's face pure and smooth, so I really worked at blending. But for the symbol in the back, I actually do not want it to be super clean and blended. So here, this particular section, this is going to be fun. I'm going to try something. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's give it a shot. So this is Alvin is the brand, and it's called Architect's Tape. I got it at my local art store for, I think, $4. I've had it for a couple years now. I use it at conventions for masking, and I'm going to use it here. So I know that this stuff has low tack. It's not very sticky. And I've worked with it on this particular paper before, so I have a decent understanding of how it works. Still, though, to be safe, what I'm going to do, and the nice thing is you can just tear it, I'm going to stick it here and just pick up a little bit of lint, whatever lint I have on there, and it's going to make it even less sticky. I learned this trick from Sabine. And so there, it has a little bit of lint on it, and then I'm going to be covering up her sleeve area. Like so. All right, so I'm just covering up a couple areas because I want to keep her shirt white, obviously, and I don't want to be covering her with a ton of splatters. But I'm sorry, it looks like it's getting a little blurry again. Hopefully my internet will fix and that won't be a problem. Okay, so I'm filling it in again, and I'm just going to cover this part too. All right. So she should be safe and covered, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to overfill my red so that it's actually really, really drippy. And so I'm going to take out my trusty refill tray again, and I'm actually going to fill it to where it's actually dripping out the brush tip. So let's do this again. Another Copic refill time. This time I actually want it to drip out the brush. So I'm going to fill it until it does. See, now there's drips coming out the end, and that's what I want because I want it to be very, very full. More dirty finger time. Okay, so see, I've got drips coming out. Now usually I'm really afraid of that because it can ruin the piece, but I am hopefully prepared. All right, here we go. So I'm filling it and getting it pretty wet because I am going to start going down like that. You know what I just realized I did, guys? I just broke the cardinal rule of Copic markers, and I refilled the wrong pen with the wrong color. I wasn't focusing. All right, time to go over it again. I'm going to have to try to flush this marker, but I need to refill it with the right one. So here goes. This sucks. Bummer. Oh my God. So I just filled the prawn with the red. And now my prawn, I don't know, I might have to buy a new one. I'm not sure how to flush that, but take two. Oh, this is what's happening when I'm talking too much, not focusing. Sorry, guys. Well, at least you just saw a big art fail. It was the wrong one. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Okay, here we go. We're gonna start over. Yes, I just did it. I just did the thing I said, oh, well, you need to make sure to check, blah, blah, blah. And I just totally screwed up myself. Classic. All right, so now I am, let's be sure, R46, R46. Refill, take two. Classic Dawn fail. All right. Starting yet again. All right, and now the one thing is, see, my hands are now stained, so I'm gonna have to be really careful when I pick it up to not get fingerprints on the piece. All right, here we go. Yes, now that's very full. No mistakes, happy accidents. Yes, we wish. All right, I actually want a pretty decent glob right here. So I'm going to use this. And I'm just going to put a drip, and I'm going to put it a little bit on an angle, the hope that it will run. There we go. Run, 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 run down the page. Here. Oh, sorry, you guys couldn't see. All right, I'm trying to get this to run down the page a little bit. There we go. Come on. All right, like so. All right, so this is something that I learned from the great Ebas. He taught me how to splatter. So what you do is you hold your brush nib into the lid. This isn't exactly super great for the brush nib, but they're cheap to repurchase. Except, you know, I've had this same brush nib on, I think, the whole time I've owned this red, which has been for about 6 years. I splatter with red all the time and it's still fine, so it's fine. But this is what you do. You flick it in the lid and it creates splatter. Can you guys see that? So that's why I have this mask tape here, in order to keep it from getting all over her. There we go. Now, Copic spreads when you fill something, so I did that drip quite far from her arm, and so even though it spread a little bit, it didn't even spread as much as I need it to, so I'm just filling in those little spots. All right, back to R39, it's called Garnet. I want another couple big drips, so I'm going to try to add them here. So I'm just tapping this on. I have to see how that works. Yeah, that's better. And I'm going to hit this a little bit just to get it to drop a little bit more. There we go. All right, now I don't want it to look too smeary like that, so I'm just adding in a bit more again. Yeah, I go a little overboard when it comes to commissions. I should probably learn the art of going faster, and I am trying, but at the same time I don't want to give someone a shoddy piece, so. And that's not to say that people that are faster than me are doing shoddy. They are just more skilled and more able. If I tried to go faster, I wouldn't necessarily be doing the best job I could, because, you know, I'm slowly working on getting my speed as I'm trying to improve as an artist. So it's kind of a little bit of both all at the same time. So I'm just darkening some of this here. I don't want it to look too streaky. All right, something like that. Now, because I'm trying to get the flecks going that way and being bigger here and smaller that way, that's why I'm flecking upside down. Okay, let's see how it turned out. See, so this tape comes off really easily, and then I'll just save it for the other side. And I'm just setting it to the side right there. All right, time to start on the other side. Whoop, whoop. Again, I'm using R46. This is a Copic sketch marker. I don't think that there's any specific way you have to use them. My personal preference is the brush nib. So I do have very light pencil lines there that I erased a little bit. But they're light enough that they're not going to show through in the Copic marker, in the final, but they are there enough that I can see where I'm trying to go. So again, I'm leaving a little white halo around her, hopefully so that she pops. Oh, thank you, Shannon. That's so sweet. I have plenty times where I guess you're always your own worst critic, right? And so I have times where, you know, I think it's going great, and then when I'm done, I'm like, oh man, I should have done X or whatever, and you know, it just haunts me. But I also need to just kind of let it go sometimes. All right, so this is how she's looking right now. You can see the one side of the symbol, I think, is done, unless I change my mind. And so I'm moving on to the left side now, which technically you're supposed to work left to right, so I don't know where my brain has been today. So that you're not, well, that's if you're right-handed, and I'm right-handed, so now I'm going to have my hand all over this side. But thankfully, I've got these gloves on, and they seem to protect the paper. Just filling up the wrong markers. I'm really on a roll today. Now you'll see right here by the gun, I'll bring it in close so you can see, I accidentally went in the line right there, but little mistakes like that, see where it's supposed to be white, there's supposed to be like an outline of white, I can take a white Sakura jelly roll pen and I can just touch that up right there. I might have to refill my red again. And good Lord, I hope I don't choose the wrong one again. All right, so now I'm working with the R39, which is called Garnet. It's sort of my next shade in doing reds. And so I'm just adding adding it in a few different places and then blending it out with the red so that I've got kind of a bit of texture on here. And I'm just placing it randomly because it's technically just a flat symbol in the back. So all I'm trying to do is give it a little bit of visual interest and texture so it isn't just one. No, thank you, Shannon. You're so sweet. Oh my God. I'm probably not going to make it this year to Salt Lake in September. I'm going to be doing the Edmonton show, though I am waiting for them to post their dates. But I skipped the Edmonton last year to do Salt Lake, so then this year I'll do Edmonton and, you know, back and forth. Though I love everyone in Salt Lake. You guys are wonderful. Seriously, you guys are such amazing people, and I'm gonna miss you this year, big time. Hi, Ted, thank you. All right, so I'm going to start adding in some breaks in the smoothness now that we're getting towards the bottom. And I'm going to refill my marker again because R46 is running out. This uses up a lot of red. You can see on the back, I used up a lot. So yeah, I'm just going to refill it again. And I promise this time to actually be careful. So here we go. This is my Copic marker drip tray for when I'm refilling. So I have an R46 marker. Learn from my mistakes. Make sure it's an R46 refill. So there we go. Another refill. Thank you, Abraham. It's nice to see you here. That's awesome. Okay, so now it is full, and I always close the other lid, and I'm going to need to be careful though, because I'm not trying to have it quite so full right now. But maybe I'll just use the fact that the marker is full and just go straight to the base right now. So I'm gonna put down my trusty tape. I use this stuff on the other side as well. Oops, I need to cover it a bit more. Now I'm being really light with my fingers because my fingers have marker on them. And the last thing I need is to just put a big pink fingerprint right in the middle of her white right in the middle of her white dress. That would really not be cool. So let's make sure there's none on this side. Copic can be a little bit of a messy job, just like I'm sure painting and many different art forms can be, but I know that Copic really has a knack. So I'm gonna add one more piece here to the bottom of her dress by her chest and waist, and I stick it on here. This is a little trick I learned from Sabine Rich. It gets a little bit of lint on it, and then I just place it down so that even though this stuff is low tack and it's not very sticky, still it's just a little bit more safety. All right, so this is really full, so I'm just going to go straight into this part and just start roughly filling in some of the streaks and adding in the texture. And it's really handy to do that when it's full. Do I have any tips for aspiring artists on how to develop skills? Literally just draw as much as you possibly can. Whatever it is that you want to be drawing a lot of, draw a lot of it. Like it's all about, in my opinion, it's all about hours put in. And then, you know, get peer critiques and ask your friends or family what they think and ask them for their honest opinion. And, you know, you may feel like you're taking it in the teeth if they tell you it doesn't look right, but it is very helpful to get that kind of critique on your work, and then just keep drawing as much as you possibly can, practicing your skills. And, you know, a lot of the artists that I deeply admire, you know, they've been drawing since they could hold a pencil. And, you know, I've been drawing the same since I could hold a pencil, but I don't have as much experience. I haven't been in comics for as long. And it is really all about practice and, you know, looking at your work and honing the craft. And, you know, they say it takes 10,000 hours or something to get good at anything. Yeah, it's the same with art. Oh, you do? Well, phew, you're more ahead than me. I haven't. You go to school for it. That's great. All right. So I went a little less textured on this side. I mean, wait, less full. So this side I put a lot more. This one I've put less, and I'm kind of liking that, but I'll see if I decide to keep it that way. But for now, I am. So if I was trying to make this smooth, I would go over the coloring that I've done here a few more times to just slowly blend everything together and make it look smooth. But I actually am trying to leave it splotchy like that. So I'm going to hold myself back from going in and trying to touch it up and give it little fixes here and there, because that's just going to ruin the effect that I'm trying to do. And I tend to do that to myself a lot, where I'll have an idea of what I want to do and I'm going to keep it loose and textured and stuff, and then my like own whatever brain that like must see everything smooth or must at least make my best shot at it completely ruins what I was trying to do. So I'm going to hold myself back now. You want to be a comic artist, but are nervous that 30's too old to start? James, I was older than 30 when I started. That kind of reveals a little bit of my age, but yeah, you're not too old to start. I wish I was younger when I started, but I wasn't, so, you know. All right, splotchy time continues. Oh, thank you, Jessica. So I'm 31. We wish. I wish. No. All right. So I'm leaving the masking on right now, and again, it's just architect tape, and it's looking a little uneven. So even though I like this effect, it's looking kind of like the whole page is slanting down that way because it's too heavy down here. So I'm going to try to even out the weight here, and I'm going to have to pull some of these pieces down further, this red, to make it match with this side. Otherwise it does kind of look like the whole page is just falling down over there. So I'm going to fix that. sad to see this go, but it doesn't look right now. So what I'm going to do probably is I'm going to take this particular section right here and pull it down. "25 with a few years of experience." Yeah, let's say that. I'm 25 with lots of experience. Just had a baby in a Kylo helmet. Yeah. All right, time to add some splatter here. So again, this is a trick I learned from eBass, and you flick on the lid. James, I don't have a hard time with the darker browns per se, but I have found difficulty just for myself with a lot of the darker purples. I've had a hard time finding one to actually mix properly and get easier blending. A lot of the other colors, there seems to be more similar shades. Chances are it's just I need to like go to a Copic booth, consult with a couple of the specialists there, and actually find out what my issue is and why I struggle with purple, because I love purple and I would love to use it more, but the blending and the mixing and finding, you know, a light, a mid-tone, and a shade all in the purple that I'm looking for, say for like the old Catwoman, the like original Catwoman suit, for instance, that deep purple, I very much struggle with that one because the blending is just really difficult when I can't seem to find three colors that match each other. Okay, so here I have it. Now this side's going down further than the other. God damn it! I'm just gonna wing it here. Oh, here. Quick lazy girl post-it move. She has a perfect face. Thank you, Anthony. That means so much. Oh my God. I actually started drawing this at Salt Lake Comic-Con this last fall in September. And then because it's a gift for someone in Salt Lake City, and I didn't have time to finish it at the show. So they were like, it's fine. Just, you know, finish it when you finish it, which is so sweet of them. Yes. I have the post-it for everyone who hasn't seen that. This is the paper I'm using. It's what I get from my local printer, but I'd say its closest comparison that I'm aware of is Strathmore Bristol board, and then Faber-Castell Eco Pigment pens are what I inked this piece with, and then obviously I'm using Copic marker. All right, off it goes. And I think the background is pretty much done. I'm just gonna go fill in some of the lines right here, and then she's finished. As far as the background, I still need to do the rest. Thank you, Anthony. I'm sure it's driving people nuts that only half of her only half of her hair is done. So I'll start working on that as soon as I'm finished right here. And I think this part's done. I don't want to kill it with quote unquote improvements and ruin the whole look. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that for now. If I get an idea of something to fix at the end, I'll go back. But for now, I think that part's done. And my desk is a disaster. So I'm just going to put away a couple of my Copic markers here. Thanks guys for your patience. I'm just cleaning up my markers. Yeah, it's the Cruella de Vil hairdo. That's very true. All right, well, we're gonna take away the Cruella look here right now. So if I remember correctly, yesterday I used E23 as the base for her hair and then used E29 for the deep shadowed parts. And I'm trying to, again, not go too far on her hair and keep it sort of loose looking like that. So this side is where the light is coming from. This part is going to be in more shadow, and so I'll work on that now. All right, this marker is running low on ink, so I'm just going to refill that. You guys are really getting the crash course in refills if you didn't know about them already, or you're just getting to see it a lot. E23. All right, E23, refill time. Now, I don't really care what all gets in here. They dry quickly, and as long as I don't stick this right in a wet spot, I honestly don't worry about it too much, but I do clean it off. And I use rubbing alcohol to clean my brush, my markers, and my little drip plate. It looks like I never clean my markers, but believe it or not, I actually do. Okay, I think that's enough. Put a couple drops over here, drops over there. Hi, Yolanda. Anthony, I would love to make it to Boston Comic Con. I am looking into it for this year. I'm still trying to get all of my shows worked out, and I am working on it, and I would love to go. So I will post if I actually do make it to the show. No, okay, that's so much better. I'm gonna keep this here. I didn't think I overfilled this marker, but just in case, I've got my drip pad. Thank you, Anthony. I would really love to go. So I'm just layering the same color on top, and it starts to basically shade itself. Patreon. Okay. I know, Patreon. I've had a lot of people tell me that. Okay, E29 is the darker shade that I'm working with. And so because I'm kind of trying to show that the light is coming this way and the shadows are on, let's see, her left side, I'm using this marker and I'm going to put it quite heavily over here. Because technically her head is casting a shadow on the bun. Do I like to use colored pencils with Copics? I do, actually. I'll use colored pencil if, for example, I don't have the right Copic color. I got a set of colored pencils that work with Copics. They're pretty much any pencil brand that has aquarelle on it, which means it can also be used as watercolor. Those don't seem to have any kind of waxy base to them, and as such they work with Copic. If you use one that is more of a waxy type of colored pencil, the Copic marker will just ball up on top of it. Kind of like if you tried to like watercolor on top of a piece of plastic, it's not going to stick, right? And that's what happens with Copic markers. So if you find a colored pencil type that is not waxy in any way, then you can use it with Copic and you can blend them even, and it works really well. I used a watercolor style colored pencil, like an aquarelle one, to do her blush. And that's the one thing I haven't been able to do well with Copic marker, is go full on and put the blush in as well with Copic. I haven't managed that, so I kind of cheat and use colored pencil. If you see like Sia coloring, she puts the blush in, I believe, with Copic marker as well, and I'm just always dumbfounded as to how she can do it. It's incredible, and I haven't figured that one out yet, so I just use colored pencil. All right, now I'm just taking the lighter tone again, and I'm just blending some of the shadows into her hair so it doesn't look quite so harsh. I'm not trying very hard to really blend and make it smooth, but I am trying to add in a bit more softness here in her hair. And now that I'm seeing this one, now Copic does tend to dry lighter than it is when you see it wet. So when you're working on it, it's actually looking darker than it will once you're done. So I think that's what happened here, and it's probably going to happen over here too, that it's just going to look lighter once I'm finished and it's had time to dry. So I'm just going back in and adding a little bit more depth here, since either I just didn't go far enough yesterday or it's dried lighter than I was expecting. Either way, I'm going to fix it. And also right now I'm just using the light color, the E23, over yesterday's E23. And it's just adding in another layer of shade and getting it darker. I'm sorry, this was off the screen. I'm using my dab pad because I am feeling that this one is getting a little bit full, and the marker's gonna bleed a drip pretty soon. And even though this is a very thick dab pad, I do need to be careful that it doesn't bleed all the way through into the artwork. So because I'm going right over her face, I'm actually drying out the marker a little bit just to make sure I don't end up with a giant blob on her eyebrow. That would really not be cool. So I'm just going in and using the lighter tone of her hair color to fill in her eyebrows a teeny bit. There we go. Sweet, done with that part. Now, doing her actual cape is going to be pretty easy because it's literally just white. But of course I'll put in a little bit of shade to it. So for a white like this, I am going to use the cold gray. So if you were to put these cold grays right next to the warm tone grays, which are these, they can tend to look bluish. Let me get a C3. See. All right, so this is the cool gray, this is the warm gray. If you can see against each other, it almost looks slightly blue and brown. And so I'm going to go with the cool grays. For pure white, that's what I go with. So I'm going to probably try out going with just C1 and C3. So C1 would be for any of the lighter, the highlight parts, I'm just going to leave the white paper. But for any parts that are starting to go into shadow, I'll use C1. And then for any ones that are going to be in darker shadow, I'll use C3. And then if need be, I'll go even darker. Now again, the light is kind of coming at her, I guess, like this. So a little bit from above. If you can see the light source, it's casting a shadow on her neck. That's kind of what I'm trying to keep with here. And so I'm just going to start going with this. And it doesn't have to be blended very cleanly again because it isn't skin, it's more folds of cloth, and so you can kind of go a little bit less, I'm a little less concerned about soft blending here. I don't know if you guys can tell if it's showing up on the screen, but this looks a little bit, even against white paper and especially against her skin, it looks slightly bluish in hue. Alright, and I'm going to get C0. This is C0, it's the next one light, and it's the next lighter one from C1 that I was using, and I'm thinking it'll go into white a little better just for right here, because of course this is her chest area, so it does tend to right under her collarbone and under her breastbone, it will go in slightly, but I don't want to make it too much where she, you know, looks like she just had a boob job or something like that. So I'm just trying to make it very slight here from these shadows down into the shadows under her chest, right? Right here, if that makes sense. And I'm leaving the part for her collarbone. I'm shading under it a little bit so that you can see that her collarbone is sort of holding up the cloth a little bit right there. And then that will go into the folds here of her shirt or her cloak. So for any of you who were on with me yesterday, I had her whole arm drawn all the way through, and that's something I've learned is when you've got cloth like this, still draw through so you know where the body is, and then from there you can erase it, but I still do know where her elbow is and where I intended for the fold of the cloth to go and stuff like that. And even though I did erase it because I want this part to just kind of disappear off the page, I can see very slight lines of where her elbow is. And it's nice to show the cloth almost forming over the body underneath so that it doesn't look to the eye like, oh my God, so the arm just kind of disappears right here. It's all those little subtle things that really help to make a piece believable to the human eye at like first glance. Like even when you're at a convention, for instance, and someone sees your cover at a booth or something like that, it needs to catch the eye in like a split second. And so that's what I'm always trying to do, and it needs to be understandable to the human eye quickly, which is kind of hard sometimes. Okay, I'm working with C1 here. I realized it's too dark for that part of her shoulder. I'm switching to C0. It's true, Yolanda. Everybody uses Copic slightly differently. And so, yeah, everybody, whatever I'm saying here is literally just my opinion and what works for me. I'm not trying at all in any way to tell you that this is the way to do it and thus is law or anything like that. by all means, if you want to use Copics, find the way that works best for you. These are just some of the things that I do. All right, so now I'm using the C3, and I'm just going to be adding it into some of the places where I feel it will look better with a more harsh shadow. No, thank you, Yolanda. I appreciate that. Yay! Such rebel, much blood. Yes, yes. Can everybody see? Hopefully. I need to move it a little bit more like that, so my hand isn't completely in your way. So because she has her hand right on her chest, so the shadow won't be that far away, but still I'm making it thicker in places where her hand is, or her arm is a little further away from her chest, and then tighter in when it's closer. So like here it would be pretty close, but then here, because of her bust curves down and around and away, it would go down a little bit like that, and here as well. So here it would start having a bit more distance as well because her shoulder curves back. And then in here, I'll just make it fully in shadow. Oops, I forgot to actually put the trigger for the gun. Lol! I'll fix that at the end. So again, I'm just putting harsher shadows in different places. The invisible trigger, yeah. I'll fix that right away, or I'm gonna be so worried that I'm like gonna mail it off and have completely forgotten. And then she's just like got this random triggerless toy gun. So again, well, not again, but because the shadow is going like this under her chin, it would kind of show up the same right here. So I'm darkening all of this spots for the most part, so that it'll be in keeping with the shadows on her face. Plausible deniability. Oh, that's great. So the missing trigger is plausible deniability if you're merely a diplomatic mission to Alderaan. I love that. Really, truthfully, all it is that I really suck at drawing guns. I'm trying to do better. I was so proud of myself for using a ruler and actually trying to get it done right, and then I just, classic Dawn, forget to draw the trigger. The Force will solve the problem. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna draw the trigger right now, or it's gonna drive me nuts. Oh, have fun inking, Yolanda. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good one. All right, trigger time. There we go. All right, time to color the gun. All right, I'm going to take a momentary break here, and what I'm going to do is show you all my new print here, and we're just going to go like, a message from our sponsors. Do, 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 do. Literally 2-minute break. Just grabbing some water. I will be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Whoop whoop. Hi, Lyndon. My son is is playing in the next room. Okay, so this is my new print. I'll take this off so you guys can see. And this is available for 1 month only on my website. So there you can see what it looks like. Whoops. So this was a commission I did at Denver Comic-Con, and this one was, yeah, I colored it, I drew it and colored it. I used Copic marker for this one, and I inked it with my usual Faber-Castell Pitt pens. Thank you, Kylie. And so I had so much fun working on this one, and I'll just take a second to explain some of the colors that I used, because I'm really excited about it. This Harley Quinn has super white skin, right? Very, very unearthly pale. I think in some comics she actually paints it on herself, right? So this is very not human looking, right? And that's Harley's look, and it's awesome. And so I usually use the cold grays, but I've started adding in this particular color. It's called BV00. And I added in a little bit, just in different places, to give her a hint of warmth. So it's really fun for using in the shadows, and I used it here, and I just put it on top super lightly of the cold grays to give her a little bit of warmth in her skin. And then of course her eye makeup is like the most fun thing to color. I think for this one I used 3 different colors. Sometimes I'll use 4 if it's a bigger piece, but for this one the space that I had to work with wasn't quite as big. So I just used 3. But anyway, this is available for 1 month. It's the print of the month for January. You can get it at my website, McTeigue.com. The link is actually in the description of this particular video, so you can grab it there if you want to. Okay, and so here it is. Time to finish up, and I'm going to be working on her gun now, and I definitely don't want to be using my Happy Purple. So for her gun, I'm going to be using the toner set of grays. So these are, they're pretty flat gray. They really don't have a hue to them, in my opinion. They're just straight up gray. And so I use those for, say, Catwoman's suit, even though I don't draw Catwoman that often, or Black Cat, or anytime I'm going to be using black. So for Silk, for instance, I used all the toner grays. And that's what I'm going to use for her gun here, and also for the silver on her belt. So these sections are white, and then these sections are actually like silver or chrome or something like that. So I need to make it's all in the coloring to show the difference in texture. And so let's get going on her gun. Here is my dab pad again, just to be safe. And I want to make sure, because a gun again is very it's metal and it's smooth, I want to make sure that I'm doing pretty stark highlights, so it goes straight to white real quick. And then at the end, if I want to add in more highlight, I'll use the Sakura Jelly Roll. Sorry guys, my internet bombed out for a second there. All right, here we go. So I'm trying with the coloring to follow the forms of the gun, which these are like really tight, tiny little spots. So it's kind of hard to do with the thicker brush tip, but it's still fine. giving this spot a little bit more texture because it's right where the handle is. Darkening up a couple spots. And I think I don't like the side light that I put here, so I'm actually going to fill that in. Yeah, it helps her gun look a little bit more like it's got some substance to it. And I'll probably go in with the Jelly Roll pen afterwards and just fill in some of these spots, give it a few little highlights that pop. All right, now I don't want all of these things at the end to be super dark like this with this really dark T7 color I'm using, so I'm actually going to go take like let's try a T4 and just add in a little bit more shade into some of these parts, but not making them completely black. Okay. Almost done. Whoop whoop. All right, so time to do her belt. So that's what I'm going to work on now. Now, these sections are more like a canvas. Let me see if everyone can see that. Yes. These sections are more like canvas and these are more like chrome. So I think I have an idea of how I'm going to accomplish this. So let's see how it goes. I want it to have a bit more texture, so I'm kind of cutting into the piece a little bit. All right, time to make it look like chrome. So I'm going to start with, it's not a dark metallic bit. It's like a normal silver color, but it does have the harsher highlights and shadows. So I'm going to find the right, let's try a T4 again, and this will be for the darker sections. These are round and they actually are like a half circle, like a dome. So I want to make sure that I show off the fact that they are in fact round. So I'd give them a little bit of a shadow here. And I'm going to take a T1 to be the next step before white. Switching to T4. All right, and I'm doing T5 real quick just to do some darker shadows. Okay, and now these are Sakura jelly rolls, and this is just in white. These are my favorite ones. There are a lot of different white, like ballpoint pens, opaque white. These ones I feel last the longest of any that I've tried, and they're easy to find, very affordable, so I recommend the Sakura jelly rolls. And that is not a sponsored comment. So I'm just going in and cleaning up any parts where I went over too far with the red. And just cleaning those up. Just adding in a few little scratches on her gun. Over her left shoulder has a spot of red. Thank you. Nice. Okay, now what I like to do is try to look over the whole piece and see if there's any areas where I need to fix my inking to help it pop out a little bit better. Sometimes I'll do an outline, and I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do a heavier black outline all the way around her and probably thicken out some of her line work. A lot of times I'll ink my piece, obviously, but I won't necessarily pay too much attention to the light sources or how thick the lines should be and stuff like that, because I do rely pretty heavily on the coloring to sort of work with me on the inks. And then at the end, if I see that the coloring didn't quite do as much, or, you know, in this case her outfit is very light, I need to do something to sort of help pull this arm into the foreground from her bust area. So that's what I'm doing now. And I think I can use a thicker pen. I'm using a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, sorry, that's upside down, in 3. No, this isn't a Pitt pen, sorry, this is Eco Pigment. Same brand though, just a different line. So this is a pretty thick felt nib pen, but it works really well, and I think this is a new one, so it's the tip is really nice. And down here where her shirt overlaps onto her belt a little bit, I need a little bit of a heavier line to show that it is something different. Copic. I'm glad you made it. All right, so now I'm going to go around the whole piece and just thicken out the outline a little bit. Jamie, with the red splatter effect, it's I stick the brush tip in the cap of the pen and I flick it. But I show a couple times how to do it on the video, so as soon as I'm done here, which I will be shortly, you can just rewind it back to I'd have to see what minute it was, but I actually worked on the red part at the beginning of the video. So you can see it there, and I explain how to do it. It's really fun. So now you guys are just seeing the last little finishing touches, stuff that I do to kind of make everything mesh together properly and try to get the important parts to stand out, which is why I'm doing a thicker black outline around Leia to help her stand out a little bit more. Make sure it's clear that she is actually the subject I was drawing. Now I'm being really careful around her face because any line that I do that's not properly in keeping with the shape of her head could completely change how she looks. So I'm trying to be really careful. Okay, I'm just moving her to an angle where I can see her a little better. Okay, so I'm just going to do one thing over her eyes, and then I believe I'm done. I'm just looking for this pen. Woo-hoo! All right, so I'm going to turn this at an angle where I'm not getting any kind of glare. I'm sorry if it's upside down and annoying for you. So I'm just going over my black lines a tiny bit here, because what can tend to happen is it's not like the Copic erases it or it smears or has any issues. It's just it tends to leave a little bit of a film or a glaze over the colors. Over the inks, I'm not really sure. So I just kind of redarken certain parts on the eyes or anywhere where I need it to sort of pop and stand out. And I'm just gonna add in the thicker line right here, but I'm doing it with a thinner pen just so I have more control and I can be a bit careful around her face. And I believe I'm done. So I get to sign it. I don't allow myself to sign a piece until it's completely finished. And so what happens is, like, when I'm working on a comic book cover, by the end of finishing the draw, my hand is so cramped and in pain that, like, my signature looks like chicken scratch. So I haven't been going for too long here, so it shouldn't be too bad. But here we go. And it's my first 2018, whoop whoop. There we go. I'll post an actual picture of it this evening so you guys can see. Getting the Copic in proper lighting at the proper angle is always a big deal, but I'll post it so you guys can all take a look. But here she is. Thank you all for hanging out with me here. I love you all. You rock. Lots of love. Check out my dirty fingers, but lots of love. And I'll see you guys later for another Facebook Live. I'm sure I have more art to draw in the near future. And I love you guys. This was really fun, and I hope we get to hang out again. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.